My number one is Jewish. Mind blown.
This video is not sponsored.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. I have a very exciting video for you today. Today I am going to be looking at my 23andMe DNA results for the very first time with you guys. I did my 23andMe quite a while ago. The results have just been sitting there waiting for me to look at them until I got around to filming this video, which we are doing today. I filmed part one of this video talking about what my parents say we're from, what my parents say about our background and our heritage. So if you want to check that out, you can head over here. So first, we're going to look at Ancestry Composition. The mosaic of the countries is me. I am 35.1% Sub-Saharan African. So that makes sense because from what my parents have said, there is African on both sides of the family, both my mom's side and my dad's side. So that is something I talked a little bit about in part one. 23.5% European. So that also makes sense to me because my parents said that there is both European on both sides of the family, mom's side and dad's side. 0.5% Jewish. My aunt actually did the 23andMe, and she talked about how there is a Jewish ancestor that we have. So that's probably what that is. So that's from my dad's side of the family, that very small percentage of Jewish ancestry. Yeah, the largest percentage of European is mostly Southern European and British European. So the rest of me, the 21%, is broadly South Asian. So I'm like 21% like Indian-ish heritage. So that makes sense because mom's side of the family is predominantly of South Asian descent. Okay, so East Asian and Native American, 13.4%. Also not a surprise to me. This is something that my mom's told me for years. Something that I've known is that I am Native American. Like a pretty decent chunk. West Asian and North African is really, really small, 0.6%. So this is like North African Arabic. And this is funny, I've gotten people asking me if I'm Arabic or like Egyptian and stuff, and that's actually like a really, really small percentage of what I actually am. Your Ancestry Timeline.
I decided to do a voiceover for this part because I didn't explain it very well in the video. I was too excited because I was looking at it for the very first time. Pretty much, this chart shows the time period when a new ethnicity entered my bloodline. The first generation is when my grandparents made my parents, and each generation goes back 30 years. So this chart covers my entire ancestry as far as 23andMe can tell. The most recent ethnicity to enter is South Asian, which makes sense because my grandmother's mother on my mom's side is of Indian descent. And the second most recent is Native American, which is my mother's grandmother. The West African is probably from both mom and dad. The newest ethnicities, South Asian, Native American, and West African, are the strongest in my DNA. And this is probably because of the most recent to enter my bloodline. Every time a new baby is made, the chromosomes get mixed up, and every time the chromosomes get crossed over and mixed, the newer ethnicities make up bigger chunks compared to the older ones. I wasn't familiar with some of the ethnicities in this chart, so I had to look them up. I looked up Sardinian, and I didn't know that Sardinia was an island in Italy, and Iberians are the people that lived in the Iberian Peninsula originally, which was southwest Europe and is now mostly Portugal and Spain. The oldest ethnicities are mostly European, Middle Eastern, and Northeast African. But I don't know of any of these ancestors because I don't know my relatives past my great-great-grandparents. Based on this chart, my ancestors were originally European and African. And it looks like my ancestors have been mixed for a very long time. It's kind of beautiful that my ancestors came together despite their differences for hundreds and hundreds of years.
So now you know my ancestry. I know my ancestry. I'm not surprised by a lot of the results. It matches up pretty well with what my parents told me, like minus a couple things. The Jewish thing would have been surprising if I didn't already have my aunt do the 23andMe and she saw that we have like a very small percentage of Jewish, which I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that.
And now for the most interesting part, the traits.
Oh, this is hair stuff, so we talk about hair a lot on this channel, so this will be interesting. I have the combination of genetic factors to make me more likely to have dark hair. I do have dark hair. Scientists think the texture of your hair is created by the shape of your hair follicle. The curvier the follicle, the curlier the strand. I have curly hair. The combination of your genetics and other factors make you more likely to have straight or wavy hair. 43% is slightly wavy, so that's kind of like straightish, but like with a little bit of a wave. And then 22% have wavy hair, 20% straight hair. So weird. 9% big curls, 5% small curls, and then 1% very tight curls. So I feel like my curls are like in between big and small, and I'm like, that's so interesting. Imagine how different my life would have been with if I had straight hair. For one thing, I probably like, if I would be on YouTube at all, like I'd be making videos about like other things. Like I don't know if I would be on YouTube. So interesting. Wonder what that's about. People with freckles, some skin cells respond to sun exposure by making more pigment, while others apparently don't get the message. The combination of your genetics and other factors make you likely to have a lot of freckles. That makes sense. I do get freckles and moles easily. I get new ones like every month, I swear. I feel like by the time I'm like 80 years old, I'm just gonna be covered in freckles and moles and stuff. So that's fun. I think they're cute. Though skin pigment is what gives us our diverse range of skin colors, it's not just a matter of appearances. The real job of skin pigment is to protect us from the sun. That makes sense, yes. Amanda, your genetics make you most likely to have lighter skin. So it also has it broken down into percentages of like likelihood. So 35% likely to have light beige skin, 30% likely to have light brown skin, and then 18% olive skin, 12% moderately fair skin, 4% very fair skin, and then 1% dark brown skin. So they got that right. My skin's pretty light. So according to these results, I feel like 23andMe like thinks that I am like a light-skinned, straight-haired, freckled person. That's so interesting. It'd be really cool if when you did your 23andMe, like it created like a simulation picture of like what it thinks you look like, and then you could like compare it to like what you actually look like. The combination of your genetics and other factors make you likely to have at least a little bit of unibrow. Do I have a unibrow, guys? I don't think so. Did it say likely to? A little bit. I do not ever remove the hair here. It's not really necessary for me. But you know what? I was talking to someone about this. I can't remember who. And we're talking about unibrows. And like we were talking about like whether or not that would be a good thing. And you know, it kind of is. Because you have so much more control over your eyebrows. Like you can like bring them closer together based on how you want to groom them or not groom them. You just have so many more options when you have more body hair. So that's kind of fun. So if you have a unibrow out there, it's not a curse. It's kind of cool. You can do whatever you want with your eyebrows. Like if you don't grow hair here, there's like nothing you can do about that. The left and right halves of the lower jaw start out as two bones, then join in infancy. If you have a cleft chin, your jawbone might still have a little gap in the middle. The combination of your genetics make you unlikely to have a cleft chin. Guys, this is embarrassing. I have to look up what a cleft chin is. Don't judge me. I think I know what it is. Is that like a bum chin? Sorry, it's like I feel like I have a little bit of a cleft chin. You see that? When I search cleft chin, like these people definitely have more of an intense cleft chin than I have. That's so interesting. Huh. No one knows why humans have earlobes at all. I never really thought, this is really making me think about the body in such a different way. The combination of your genetics and other factors make you likely to have detached earlobes. I do have detached earlobes. My dad has detached earlobes. I think my mom has attached earlobes. Early humans had brown eyes, but at some point a baby was born with a genetic variant leading to a new eye color. Today, most light-eyed people carry the same genetic variant. Your genetics make you most likely to have brown or hazel eyes. I do have brown eyes. See? They're brown. Pointed hairlines, the widow's peak. Yes. Okay, before I finish reading this, I definitely do have a widow's peak. A little bit. My husband definitely has it's this part right here. So am I more likely or not? Do I have a widow's peak? I always thought I did. Let me in the comments below, guys. Do I have a widow's peak? Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just in my head. Actually, it's pretty filled in. You know what? I think I thought I had a widow's peak, but I think that's just because I was losing a lot of hair from all of like the heat damage and like all the bad things that I was doing to my hair. So I probably actually don't have a widow's peak now that my hair is like filled in and like growing thick and stuff. Mind blown. I don't have a widow's peak. My whole life I've been wrong. So this part is also quite Interesting. This is based on my DNA relatives who are on 23andMe and like where they're from. So the bulk of my relatives, yeah, so this is really interesting. So my number one is Jewish. I have 435 Jewish relatives on 23andMe. So to give this some context, my husband Alex only has 10. So 435 is a lot. And because my results said I'm only like 0.5% Jewish, 435 relatives is like a lot. And it's more than like any other group. It's more than British, African, West African Native, like it's really, really high. So I was thinking about this. Does that mean that like I have a lot of relatives that married into Jewish families? It must be, right? Because if I'm only zero, I don't know, it's really interesting. 435 Jewish relatives. And then the next most is 250 British and Irish relatives. That makes sense. 250 French and German relatives. 45 Italian. And then the lowest is North African and Arabian, 5 relatives. Finnish, really random, 5 relatives. So yeah, that's really interesting. The Jewish thing is like probably like one of the most surprising things. Like even though I knew ahead of time because my aunt had done this that we had a Jewish ancestor, I wasn't expecting to have 435 Jewish ancestors based off of like a part of me that's like 0.5%. In the last video, I asked you guys to guess what you think my ancestry would be. Are you surprised with the results from this video? If you've been watching me for a long time, are you surprised? If you're new to the channel, are you surprised based on looking at me? I feel like I look all of the ancestry components that make up me, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, now I can say like I know where I'm from. So I'm really glad that I did this to give myself some clarity, because my whole life, like I talked about in part 1, I've always been like a little lost and a little bit like confused about my ancestry. So it's nice to have some concrete scientific answers. I'm glad to know that my parents didn't lie to me, except for the Chinese thing, Mom. You're wrong about that. According to science. But maybe they're wrong. I don't know. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. I do videos on lifestyle and curly hair videos on this channel. Let me know in the comments below, have you ever done 23andMe? Are you going to do 23andMe? And if you did do 23andMe, were you surprised by your results? Or I've heard of cases where like people found out like some pretty like mind-blowing things from the 23andMe results. Like they find out that like about siblings that they didn't know existed and all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, I didn't find out anything like crazy like that, but I did find out that I have 435 Jewish family members that I didn't know existed. That's like a lot of family. 435 people. That's a lot. Anyway, okay, so I love you so much. I love you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.